everyone. These are the Kaijusaurus boys, and we come at you at a bit of a difficult evening. We were all set up to watch the film when we did. We were all set up to get our podcast going, and in fact, we went out and got noodles so that we would have something fun and new and innovative to do on the podcast.
We had a whole thing planned, basically.
Yeah, we had a whole thing planned, and then unfortunately, Steven spilled some water and broke his laptop.
Literally, as I was moving my hand to press record.
Yeah. So we come at you now on my tiny portable Plan B Sony recorder, which seems to be doing a very good job, but this is a situation at hand. Steven's currently in mourning. You sort of shock of grief. Have you come to terms with what's happened yet, Steven?
Frankly, I'm in a shiter of a mood.
Yeah.
And the fact that we need to talk about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II isn't it really helping?
Yeah, exactly. So Steven's in prostate grief.
I'm just gonna
prostrate grief.
Not
prostate grief.
I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna have my sweet and sour rice with beef.
I'm gonna do all the talking,
and I'm gonna let you take the lead
okay.
until I feel like talking.
So, just before we go, at the top of the show, guys, pardon our dust. Apologies for any change in sound quality than what you're used to. In fact, I might be guest editing the audio for this one as well.
So, but I don't have a fucking laptop anymore.
So we went out and got noodles. Can we name the establishment?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Dr. Noodles.
Or Noodles, because there's no little full stop after the DR.
We're just raging about that.
It's pretty good.
Welcome to the Kaijusaurus Podcast, in which myself, a fresh-faced newbie, a new egg to the world of kaiju movies, watches and reviews all 30-plus films in the Godzilla franchise
with a bitter, shallow husk of a person.
Quint from the Jaws movie.
The Jaws movies. Jaws.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'd like to be Quint. You know?
Yeah, you'd make a good Quint, and I'm.
You're Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah, I'm Richard Dreyfuss.
This might mean nothing to you because it. Here's Laura.
Laura is Brody.
I thought you were going to say Laura is Jaws.
That'd be funny.
In the last episode, I mentioned Toshiro Mifune, and you didn't know who that was.
No.
But I always imagined Toshiro Mifune in a Japanese version of Jaws as Quint. I hope you get that one day.
One day I will.
I'll go back to my rice now.
Yes, enjoy your rice. So
I'm pathetically eating this with chopsticks. And it's.
You did better than I did.
It's a scoop.
I put my noodles away for now because I'm now the ringleader of this podcast.
It's his show.
So this is my show. This is like the episode of Frasier where Niles has to run the radio show, which is a great episode.
That's a good episode. Yeah.
Right. So we watched today.
Let's get better. That's what it says in the episode.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. The one for the Frasier fans out there.
Exactly. Oh, can't wait for our Frasier cast.
Mate, I would actually fucking love that.
Yeah, the Frasier cast. What would you call it? Scrambled eggs cast.
Toss salads.
Toss Salad FM. Where myself and my friend review every single Frasier film.
No, every single media appearance of Dr. Frasier Crane, including Cheers episodes and the one episode of Wings that he starred on as Frasier.
Absolutely. So,
why do I know?
We watched 1992 or 3's. I'm on the wrong page. This was Godzilla vs. Mothra. It was called. What was the name of the film? It was called Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II.
Do you want me to jump in, Ross? Are you good?
No, it's fine. It was directed by. And the sound was by Akira Ifukube.
The sound.
The music.
Yeah.
It was Tomoyuki Tanaka that produced
Tanaka executive produced it.
3, 2, 1, hit it, Steven. He's back.
Today we're reviewing 1993's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II. It's not a good film. And it's dismal. And it's dull. And it's dry. And
much like your noodles.
Well,
or much unlike your laptop. Listen,
no,
guys.
I was about to make the exact same joke, so it's fine. I'm just going to go back to my.
That's fine. So
there's no beef left.
Where's the beef?
They fucking.
Do you want some of my beef?
No, I'm good. They
That's cool.
tarted up all the top of it with beef.
There's no
substance.
There's no substance to the noodles. It was all decorative. It was all display. So I guess I'm just going to dive right in and talk about what I felt about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. We're in this middle of the 90s. It's still 1992. Are you right in saying this is a 1992 release as well as the last one?
93.
93. It will have been the year I was born.
It was 2 seconds. It was marketed as a 40th anniversary Godzilla production.
Right. Okay.
Even though it was 39 years.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots. But that was because the Godzilla series was potentially going to end after this film.
All right.
To pave way for an in development Hollywood production.
I see. There's something looming on the horizon.
There certainly is. But so in case they didn't make another Japanese production, they billed this as the 40th. But they did.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, what a finale that this would have been.
Oh god, I know.
Like we talked about, what was the 10th film that was? Is it Destroy All Monsters? That was billed as a potentially last Godzilla film, and that was amazing. That was a great, that was a great finale theoretically. But this one, well, it ends. It would have just ended.
This is in their last episode. Sorry, I'm going to switch to my spork.
Yeah.
See, you're bringing me out of this.
And you don't want to be.
You're bringing me out of the funk, Ross. You're doing well.
One last job.
You're
everyone motivated.
You're slowly bringing me out. What is that?
I don't like that.
Is that a green bean?
A green bean?
Can you tell me what that is?
It looks like a green bean.
Tastes like one too. Fucking disgusting. Like this film. Oh, that's rank.
Spit it out.
No, I've committed to it now.
Oh, that's alright then.
Right, I'm going to start taking this seriously.
Yeah, man.
Gross aftertaste, but still.
We're just
forgot what
reviewing noodles. Welcome to the Noodles Cast, in which Steven watches and reviews all the noodles.
What the hell? There we go. No, I remember now. In the last episode, Godzilla vs. Mothra, I spoke about how I think this 90s period of Godzilla movies represents the franchise's lowest creative point.
Yeah.
Creative bankruptcy, as I like to call it. And I think that's even more obvious in this film because it's boring, it's uninspired, the special effects are lackluster and clunky, and Rodan looks like shit.
Yeah.
Mechagodzilla's design is uninspired and plasticky.
Yeah.
And there's like no standout, really likable characters. The protagonist is a fucking douche. He's Jar Jar Binks, basically.
So,
and he wants to fuck dinosaurs.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he does definitely say in the film he wants to do that.
We'll get back to this later, and I'll tell you what scene it is, but this film, to my mind, contains the worst scene. The worst scene in
Steven's pretty angry, guys.
In the entire franchise. So you know what? Maybe it's a good thing that I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah, maybe.
When I'm talking about a film I don't like.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Rather than
it'll certainly get us the most listens. It'll certainly make for an electric episode.
It'll be a controversial.
It's like a network. You're Peter Finch. There's just we're keeping you angry and we're keeping you raging. Better
call Saul.
Listening. So, how I feel about this and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, and just some of the sort of quality of some of these films that we've been seeing this year, last year, is this movie was pretty dull. I certainly didn't think it was bad, and I certainly didn't find it as even as vicious an offender as last year's one, Mothra vs. Godzilla.
Well, good for you.
But what I did have a think about was, you know, because part of me was like, you know what, Ross? There are some of the films from maybe the 60s and the 70s that were maybe a little bit like this. Not a lot of them were happening, and you seem to enjoy them just fine. So what's the issue here? And I thought about it as goes, because this is a film made in 1993, like that.
And it's like,
this is a fairly recent film, and for there to be very little change in the tone, plot, or like how the film is presented from like the 60s is a sign that maybe they could have done something differently.
What kills off franchises? Inability or unwillingness to adapt and change.
Yes, exactly. And to try and capture kind of past glories or formula.
It's funny that you mention the attempt to recapture past glories, because Tomoyuki Tanaka approached Ishiro Honda to direct this.
Right. And did Ishiro Honda direct this?
No.
No.
Fuck no. He died.
Oh well, that's a shame. Like last year. No. I mean like within the last year of
during the film's production.
Right.
Yeah.
So he died. Yeah. So quite recently.
No,
within the context
1993.
of the film. Within the context. Sorry, I meant last year
Yeah, it
in
was
relation
yesterday.
to 1983, and quite recently in relation to 1993. When I review films, I time travel to when the film came out. What was that? Oh, your laptop's back on.
It's
not.
alive! It's alive!
Don't get too close. Just
One for the Universal horror fans there.
Aye.
Colin Clive. Frankenstein. Director James Whale. 1931.
great flick.
We had a great conversation earlier. That was more of a lecture by me at you about Spanish Dracula.
Yeah, talk about Spanish Dracula for a minute.
Nah.
All right.
This is the Kaijusaurus podcast.
That's fair. Not the
It's not the-
not the foreign.
Wow, okay.
What?
Not the foreigners.
No, I said you cut me off. It made me sound like a bad man. So let's start with a solid run through.
Right.
Or sort of a talk through of the storyline.
The coolest thing about this movie is in its first minute.
Yeah. Is it the opening montage?
Yeah, that they salvage the remains of Mecha King Ghidorah, the cyborg from the future from 1991 Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. They salvage it, repurpose its technology and use it to make Mechagodzilla. That's inspired.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool jumping off point. And like it's a nice little reminder that these films are in a sort of semi-tight continuity. And yeah, that's
Yeah, it's almost a sequel to the 1991 film and not the Mothra film.
Exactly. It feels like a direct sequel to King Ghidorah. And that's even more evident in the fact that there's a lot of the same musical cues in it as well. I mean, it was Ifukube, and Ifukube did reuse a lot of music, but there are some direct music motifs lifted from King Ghidorah as well. So that's the coolest thing about this movie, and it's finished after a minute.
Yeah, it opens on a lot of promise. It's a very great, like, feels very 90s. It's got a narrator, doesn't it? Basically saying that.
Yeah, the opening sequence, yeah.
That's right. So the attack of of King Ghidorah and all these constant Godzilla attacks mean that more needs to be done. So the G Force was created.
G-Force.
Essentially a big team of crack soldiers and crack scientists whose goal is to monitor, to be prepared to fight against another Godzilla attack, and ultimately create something that can really defend Japan against monster attacks. Mechagodzilla, which they've done harnessing the King Ghidorah parts.
Although the first attempt at creating a machine was the Garuda.
Yes.
Sort of a giant sort of mobile aerial
Rocket
tank
thing. Yeah.
sort of thing. It's elegant.
Yeah, but it didn't go that well. The reveal in that opening montage, that whole opening montage is really, really good.
It's strong, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so I was really riding it when the film first started. You see the G-Force, you see everyone in their uniforms, you see offices of people all working together. So you get this real sense of how people have come together to fight Godzilla, how plans have been made. The reveal of Mechagodzilla for the sort of opening titles is banging, and I just wrote that in my little book. The Mechagodzilla reveal is banging. It looks so good. You pan down, it feels very just what's the word for it?
Hard man.
Yeah.
Feels very Wallace and Gromit.
It does actually feel a little bit like a Wallace and Gromit scene. But no, it feels a lot like your kind of Japanese mech thing, like your Gundam Wings and your Evangelions and your
Mazinger Z.
Aye, keep it coming, keep it coming.
I can't remember. What do you think of the look of Mechagodzilla itself?
He looked fine. He looks not as cool because I think the first Mechagodzilla looked cooler.
The first Mechagodzilla, to me, I think I said this on the show, it looks like a big, heavy, fucking bolted together piece of machinery.
Yeah.
Like, whereas this looks a bit like, it just looks a bit plasticky is the word.
Yeah.
It's the word I would use to describe it.
And I think he's based on the Godzilla that I don't like, the one that's very like jowly and joy and got like big cheeks, the one that looks like a cat.
And his big thighs.
Yeah, well, he's gonna, I don't want to blame...
No, I'm saying that it might look inelegant on a giant robot.
Well, that's fair. Yeah.
What's the practical purpose of giving him...
Big, thick thighs. Mm-hmm. That's true. Don't shame Mechagodzilla.
Unless they just want to, like, really nail it aesthetically.
I mean, yeah, it works because that's how sort of Godzilla looks. So it's almost like a toe-to-toe matching of Godzilla, for better or for worse. I mean, ultimately, it's just that Mechagodzilla isn't that interesting because he's just a robot vehicle.
Yeah.
If there was a personality to the character, then I would really care about Mechagodzilla. But
And
I barely care about the people that are driving him.
well, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, let's face it, Mechagodzilla is instantly made 10 times less interesting in this movie by the fact that it's a creation of humans.
Yeah,
and it's piloted by humans.
Things.
And it's a defense weapon instead of an offensive weapon. Whereas in the original, it was at the hands of the ape aliens, the aliens from the third planet of the black hole, who used it as a doomsday weapon, which was infinitely better.
Yeah.
And just gave it much more of a menacing personality and just a personality in general.
I've been missing aliens.
Whereas this Mechagodzilla doesn't ever feel like anything more than an anthropomorphic tank.
Yeah, that's it. It very much is just a weapon, a tank.
Yeah,
and you just lose a little bit of interest in it because of that. It's just a tool.
Exactly, yeah, it's a tool, exactly.
Yeah. So, moving on.
Speaking of tools, the protagonist of this movie.
Yeah, well, our protagonist is a sort of G-Force scientist who is drafted into proper military style
For some
G-Force.
reason.
For some reason, he's properly trained.
For some reason.
Yeah, for some reason, he's given the equipment and the tools he needs to succeed in this new branch.
For some reason.
For some reason, yeah, there's no explanation given.
I'll tell you what, Ross, you know what he's all about?
What?
Pteranodons.
Yeah, he loves dinosaurs. He's a big dinosaur fan.
Yeah, he sure is.
Whatever that means.
For whatever reason that service
yeah,
is the plot.
He's not particularly...
He's very annoying.
He's kind of boring. There's not even, even some of the earlier, the past few Godzilla films, even the protagonist of the last one we had, I think we both kind of liked.
Yeah, the sort of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Rogue.
He was like annoying, but he was like quite roguey and fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy doesn't have much going for him. He didn't do anything for me really. I didn't think he was strictly like awful or annoying.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. Just again, the criminal sin, just being kind of boring and not having anything interesting. So an egg is found on some random island that I think is described as a junkyard of nuclear sort of waste, yeah.
Fallout,
Yeah.
classic.
I wrote down the word waste, but I've written it so strangely I couldn't actually tell what it said. So some scientists find an egg, big egg, and that's brought back to G-Force.
But what else did they encounter on the island? Rodan.
Rodant.
For the Rodant. A rodent.
Rodant.
But
yeah,
for the first time since 1968 in Destroy All Monsters.
we'll talk more about
Discounting stock footage appearances.
Yes.
But Rodan's back. Also,
We'll talk more about the Rodan fights in a wee second.
much less personality.
So the egg is big egg. They don't know too much about it, but it seems to be turning red and turning all sorts of different colours. One of the head G-Force scientists reckons his egg theory is that the egg is showing emotion, and in particular it seems to get very red and very anxious and angry when one particular scientist isn't there.
Yes.
With her encouragement, the egg seems to grow, to crack, to open up. And I believe that's once our psychic character who's in a lot of these films gets involved.
Yeah, Miki Seguza.
She does some psychic stuff, there's some sound waves, and that seems to wake the egg up.
There's like,
I don't know if that's directly what happens or if that's just a convenient...
There's a whole thing about a small cutting of a prehistoric plant in a bag, and it's really funny because, like, I don't want to sound immature, or whatever, but it does just look like they're all talking about weed.
Yeah,
like,
it does. He's just holding his little bag of weed.
Yeah, still, and when he's sitting down to have his lunch at G-Force, and he's just got this little bag of plant
weed
next to him, and Miki just holds it and goes, "Oh, what's this?" Like, it's the good kush.
That would have made for a much more interesting
And then, like,
film.
all the psychic kids communicate with the weed.
Yeah, that's right. They're all like. I like seeing the psychic kids back. It's always nice to have them. The establishment of a G-Force area and base is really cool, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yes.
So this egg cracks. Something comes out. It's a smaller creature. It's a Godzilla-saur. It's a little cute Godzilla. It's not Manila. I was sorely disappointed, but it's Manila-like. It's essentially a.
Wait till next time.
It's a cousin. Oh, I'm excited.
Kind of. Essentially, wait till next time.
So this is a Godzilla-saur. A sort of, it's described almost as like a cousin of Godzilla, or a sort of sibling species.
I think they describe it as a sort of a gentler member of the same family.
Of the same family, yeah.
Nice and vague.
So it is a plant eater. It's a herbivore.
Yes.
It doesn't get it won't eat people. But I mean, Godzilla doesn't eat people.
Exactly. You're so right,
You never
Ross.
see him eat, apart from like
Absorbing radiation.
Yeah. Well, as he eats radiation, that's definitely not meat.
And in a certain 1998 movie, he eats a lot of fish.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's the Roland Emmerich movie.
Can't wait, mate.
So Godzilla comes to find
His
this egg
neighbour,
or its
his
offspring,
little
his wee buddy.
offspring, his wee buddy.
And this eventually draws us into a conflict with Godzilla and Mechagodzilla and Rodan. There's a three-way smackdown in Kyoto, I think.
Yeah.
Wait, no, is it in Kyoto? I can't remember. Maybe. Anyway, yes. I don't really like this film.
It just does nothing. It just plods along.
It's a very, very boring film.
It is just like bare bones. It is almost straight to formula with nothing exciting or interesting to offer. And
these 90s films desperately needed a competent editor.
that's fair.
Really just
They're all a lot
tighten things
longer
up.
as well. 140, 150
Yeah,
minutes.
this was 1 hour 47. Yeah,
Wow,
which
yeah,
is
whereas-
and it felt it.
Yeah,
It really felt it.
Wasn't one of the Godzilla? Wasn't one of the kids Godzilla films? Wasn't it like 70 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All films should be 70 minutes long.
But like even just stuff like there's a lot of shots in this movie of just machinery working, like people being lowered down on chairs or raised higher up
to
on
go into
platforms,
Mechagodzilla,
or like see if you just shaved all those off.
Yeah, you'd have like a really swift film.
Get a minute or two off the film, and
It'd make all the difference.
you know what scene could be cut entirely, Ross?
What scene could be cut entirely?
The fucking scene where our protagonist, Aoki, I think his name is, reveals that he has, in his spare time, built a Pteranodon robot, a fully functioning Pteranodon robot, and takes the young scientist who he has an interest in for a
spin.
Let's go for spin, yeah.
A spin in his...
A spin in his dinosaur.
Carry on, Steven.
And it is the most cringe-inducing scene in the entire Godzilla franchise. People often say that the 1970s represent the most embarrassing or cheesy or whatever buzzword you want to use, period, in Godzilla history. But no, I entirely disagree. The early to mid 90s is the worst period of Godzilla, and this is the worst of the worst.
Stephen was in actual rage, physical rage. He couldn't watch the scene because you hate it that much.
I was in agony.
Is that your worst, most hated Godzilla scene?
Mental anguish.
Do you just find it pointless and useless?
It's in all seriousness. It's okay. First of all, it's awkward. It is so awkward because there's no love story there.
Yeah,
there's no love story.
Yeah,
there.
they don't even have a romance.
The prop looks like shit. And the composition of the robot flying looks terrible. It looks awful. And there's like this really sort of gentle, I think it's harp music playing over the scene.
Yeah.
As if it's meant to be like beautiful and gentle and serene.
romantic.
And it's just awful.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
And little Godzilla is like walking around. It's just such a strange scene. That's why I liked it. Because it's about the only interesting thing that happened in that movie. Like, what a weird thing to happen. It doesn't even fly properly. Just sort of weirdly glides from side to side. Just hovers aimlessly. And then at the end, he flies back out in it.
Yeah, exactly.
To safety.
I tell you what, the fucking... the rear projection and green screen work in that scene would make music videos look like Citizen Kane. like karaoke videos.
That'd be amazing. We should... What?
Anyway. Yeah, so I hate that scene.
Yeah. No, I mean, that would... No, I found that a scene that, at the very least, held my attention more than Rodan flying around, or Godzilla walking pretty slowly, or Mechagodzilla just zooming so slowly head first over some buildings again and again.
There's a lot of boring flight in this movie.
Yeah.
Like Rodan is really disserviced here. Like, for one of Toho's big iconic monsters, they really do Rodan a disservice, I think.
See, yeah, the Rodan stuff, actually, it's been a while, because I'm new to all these films for the very first time. I tend to forget a lot of stuff, so I've kind of forgotten a lot about Rodan. I actually didn't mind Rodan. I thought he was quite funny, but I mean, that's it. He was a bigger monster earlier on. I remember you saying he had like a full body suit before.
Yeah, my issues with Rodan in this film is that I think the design is sound aesthetically, like, sort of, the design looks okay, but the way it's brought to life and the prop is atrocious.
Yeah.
Error 101 is making Rodan just a wired prop and not a fully performed costumed monster.
Yeah.
As it was in its original appearances. The second really bad error is how, relative to Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, small they made Rodan.
Tiny.
Rodan
is like
is
the
really
size of this
small.
giant condor. He's like that small.
Exactly. It's really
He's like a nuisance.
small. Yeah,
At no point do I worry that he's going to cause any damage to Godzilla or anybody.
Exactly.
He's just there to be annoying.
And
just so Godzilla has something to fight.
That they fucking forgot to put in the special effects for Rodan's sonic waves.
Yeah, I thought he was shooting stuff out his wings. It looks like a bomber, like, doing a run, like, flying over buildings and the ground's detonating below it. But it's a supersonic wing wave,
See, that's
right?
cool. It could have been like a sort of dive bomb attack if they had bothered their asses
And giving him some projectiles.
to put in special effects.
But instead he just flies over buildings as the buildings below him explode.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't give you the information that you need to put together that it's supersonic sound waves.
Exactly.
That's not
There's no mention
there.
of it. Yeah. Did you just think like Rodan had like wing-mounted machine guns?
Yeah, it looks like he's shooting bullets. Like it should be guns. Like it almost. And the thing is, they're exploding in twos on either side of him. You know, like explosion on one side and explosion on the right. So it does just look like
absolutely
rings of bullets across the ground as he flies. So. Yeah, Rodan's just there. He's just like a little rat boy nuisance flying around, causing grief.
And then they do this really annoying thing, which is typical, you may have noticed so far, of the 90s movies, which is they feel the need to give Rodan a projectile weapon.
Yeah.
Like a ray that comes from its mouth. And it's like, I don't care, right, when two monsters are standing at a distance just firing things at each other.
Yeah. It's boring.
There's a way to shoot that interestingly,
But it doesn't get
Koichi
done.
Kawakita did not.
Does not do it.
There are people who I've heard that stuff like J-Fest and that, like when he was there, people referred to Koichi Kawakita as the heir to Eiji Tsuburaya, and I could not disagree more.
Yeah. Did you tell him that to his face though?
Well, I'm glad I didn't, because he died 6 months later.
Oh well.
I had a pee next to him though.
Oh, that's alright. You had a chance, Steve.
Just
you called it.
So hear you. I'm not a fan of you.
I found your work lagging at particular points.
I think if he had maintained his standard that he showed in Godzilla vs. Biollante, that it would have been
great.
It would have been good, but unfortunately, by this point, he was an alcoholic.
Oh well. Doesn't.
And
help.
you know what? Comes across.
Air horns.
I should have said that.
No, it's so funny. It's good.
No, I said I should have said that to him.
Ah, yeah, you should have said that to him. Oh my god, that's so
Just
funny.
at the panel. Any questions? Yes, here. Do you
Yes,
think
sir.
your alcoholism affected your work?
Stephen gets hounded at a G-Fest, never invited again.
Rest in peace, Koichi
I'll
Kawakita.
come in. Yeah, it's a shame that he died.
So yeah, I completely disagree about that, saying that Kawakita is the heir to Tsuburaya. Like, maybe he, like, literally was.
yeah, like quite literally, you had the job after him.
Exactly. Like, yeah, he took over the department in a role similar to Tsuburaya's.
Yeah.
But in terms of special effects, innovation, pioneering new techniques, the title of the heir to Eiji Tsuburaya, to my mind, goes to Mr. Shinji Higuchi, co-director and special effects director of Shin Godzilla, and special effects director of the 90s Gamera trilogy. And the more and more I talk about those, I'm bringing them up more and more. The more and more I just want to chuck in these films and watch them with you.
Yeah. Well, I think we can.
Just to see how much they put these 90s Godzilla films to shame.
That's fair, because the Gameras were made in the 90s as well, right?
Yeah, 95 to 99.
Okay. I think
that's a tiny bit
one
of
of them we
overlap.
can give a shot.
Yeah.
So the thing that I keep thinking about is, part of me feels like, am I giving this movie too hard a time? But it's not. It's just because we're in 1993. It's too little. It's
Too little.
I expect
too long.
more. Yeah, exactly. It's just, they can't keep doing this. They can't just keep getting away with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy to write off one or two and go, oh well, you know what, I didn't find it the most entertaining, but they make one a year or one every once in a while, it's fine. But you reach a point where you just can't keep farting shit out.
It's so repetitive.
And it's just not got a lot to interest me.
And there's even, of course, there's things about this movie I do like.
Yeah.
I like the design of Baby Godzilla. I think it looks pretty good.
And the Baby Godzilla stuff and the relationship with the scientist, I thought was actually the most engaging part of the film.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Yeah,
And that's the one thing that is maybe a little different. Mm-hmm. You've almost got it's very Jurassic Parky. It's very
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not sure these kind of other movies where people are with monsters and you're looking after your creature. Yeah.
And of course, it's always nice to hear the music of Akira Ifukube. But
it was just sort of classic scores.
Exactly.
It wasn't
exactly.
anything.
It's not really anything we haven't heard before, unfortunately, except for the main title, which is great.
Yeah.
But I feel like at this point in the series, Ross, that the Godzilla films almost sort of entered an unintentional period of self-parody.
Yeah.
Because, okay, how many times in this film alone does Godzilla suddenly appear and it goes
yeah, quite a lot.
And that's the same in versus King Ghidorah and versus Mothra, and it's the same in the subsequent films to come. And to me it almost becomes funny.
The amount that he just appears out of nowhere.
The amount of times he appears and that music just kicks in, there's nothing funny about it.
No,
but it just becomes funny to me
by repetition and by sort of sheer lack of by repetition and by sheer unawareness.
Yeah.
I mean, because we talked about, you said that, it's the sort of 60s, 70s films that are considered a little bit cheesy or whatever.
Yeah.
These are the ones I would not want to show people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whereas
definitely,
there are a bunch of these Godzilla films that I've seen that I know certain people. Oh, you would love this one. I want to show you the one from the 63 or 72. But yeah, these are just boring.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want to show these to anyone because they would just walk away thinking, "Oh, it is just boring."
They're often
hokey movies where monsters attack and there's a boring plot to just tie everything together, but it's mostly just about the monster fights, which aren't even that exciting.
No, we've seen, and they're not shot well. Again, more high angles. It doesn't really look good in kaiju movies with tokusatsu effects because it highlights. It does highlight shortcomings in miniature effects work by exposing that the monsters just so happen to be battling in a massive open wide area in the middle of a city.
Yeah, in a big open plaza area.
It's, as I said in the last episode, and I so agree with you, these are the films that I would not show people. This is like the dirty little secret for me. But the reason I am so hard on these films in the 90s is because they just aren't what they should have been for the time they were produced.
That's fair.
Across all boards.
Yeah.
Special effects especially. Because, except from, maybe a little bit of CG thrown in here or there, or sort of improved optical effects like rays and beams and stuff, what progression have we seen?
Not much.
Since the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just it doesn't feel like that much.
Exactly, yeah.
Whereas even
well, we've seen progression in the
that's it. We've always progressed really far and then come back.
The fact that
it's something comfortable and easy and simple.
Yeah, quote unquote progression in the fact that a lot of the monster attacks in this film were rear projected against real life footage of cities, but it looks bad.
Yeah,
it looks really, really bad. It looks like what it is, a monster on different footage than the fucking city they're supposedly
walking around
attacking.
in the background.
There's just not a whole lot to this movie, and for a movie that lasts 1 hour 47,
there should be something.
There should be something. Why did we need to see him working somewhere else first? Then he gets introduced to this random lady. Then he's told that this lady's going to get his job. Then he's transferred to G-Force, and could he just been a G-Force pilot?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it made sense when they were starting, when they open up with Mechagodzilla. I thought, wow, am I going to get this movie about the brave pilots of the Mechagodzilla and really about this maybe 4 characters, because you have 4 people piloting it. Why didn't we have 4 protagonists or pilots of a Mechagodzilla?
Yeah. Give us some fucking stake.
Yeah, give us show us like Mechagodzilla. Give us show us how it works.
Make us feel something when we see Mechagodzilla go up in flames.
Yeah,
like the character we know most inside Mechagodzilla at that point is Aoki's superior, who has been shown to be nothing but like a sort of typical ballbuster and like a bit of an arsehole. You know, he's hard on them.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And Mechagodzilla individually doesn't have any character, so I feel nothing when it's beaten.
Yeah. Because almost give me make your 2 protagonists. You can have make your 2 protagonists. Make it the main guy and the psychic girl.
Yeah.
And
what if she was the main pilot of Mechagodzilla?
She's the main pilot, and then maybe our main character, he is like a low-level ranking scientist.
Yeah.
He's really fascinated with dinosaurs. Or even make it that he's a guy that works in the car parks.
Yeah.
Like they have him do, and almost that he's bigger than his station, he's been demoted, or he just is smarter than he lets on. And almost have these 2 people almost rise up the ranks to Mechagodzilla pilot.
And it would have been so interesting to have Miki Sugusa as the main protagonist piloting Mechagodzilla, because they play with this a little bit.
And they have her anyway.
Yeah, have her like at odds with herself because she has a connection to Godzilla. She feels Godzilla. She
carry on. That's you.
She understands him, she feels him, but at the same time she's so aware of what a threat he poses. So like to put her in the position of piloting the anti-Godzilla weapon would be really interesting.
Yeah.
But
because they almost throw that conflict really late into the film, where she's almost
she's made to target Godzilla's secondary brain.
And realizes that she doesn't want to, and that it wouldn't be right, and that she doesn't want to lose this creature, this beautiful, dangerous creature.
If they had went down that angle, it would have been so much more interesting. A lot of this, what we're talking about, is sort of remedied in a later Mechagodzilla movie.
Good.
But one that's not part of this continuity.
Right, okay.
Thank goodness.
Thank bloody goodness. So it all comes down to this sort of, I mean, like your classic Godzilla film, they'll give you a wee bit of the sum up of what the moral was at the end of the movie, and it's,
life against artificial life.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
didn't play with that at all.
Yeah, that's it. The idea isn't even there, because Mechagodzilla wasn't a personality, he wasn't AI, he was just a robot, he was just a vehicle, he was a big car with hands.
Exactly, and in the next Mechagodzilla movie, they play with that idea a lot: artificial life versus life.
Good.
And
the natural AI and the nature of intelligence and the nature of existence. Good. Go down that route. And then they have the classic, Godzilla would do anything to protect his young. Yeah, of course he would.
Yeah. And it kind of pains me to say, but actually it doesn't, because it's a waste of Rodan. Why is Rodan in the movie?
Yeah. It could have just been the giant condor.
It could have been nothing.
Well, yeah.
It could have sped things up. It could have saved us that really bad fight.
I mean, it comes
Godzilla
down to what somebody said in the comments of the last film. Was it Hamish?
Possibly.
But well, anyway, I'll do it just in case it wasn't. It comes down to what somebody said in the comments on our Facebook about the last episode, and that it's another formula. It's almost, there's a big fight at the very beginning, there's a sort of big fight in the middle, then the sort of main threat is vanquished, and then you have another fight at the end, like an additional one.
Godzilla fights The Godzilla fights the title monster in the middle of the movie, then the title monster comes back in the finale with an upgrade in a new form, and they fight again. That's 4 movies in a row.
Yeah, and it's loses its fun when you do it 4 in a row. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you can argue that these formulas are there for a reason, and they've been successful in previous Godzilla films in earlier decades. But again, we're in the 90s now, and this is the 4th time in a row. Like it just is not as acceptable.
These films all feel so tonally identical.
Yeah, that's it. They're hard to tell apart.
There's such a lack of creativity and vision in the way they're directed. I mean, compare the tone of this film to versus King Ghidorah or versus Mothra or versus Biollante. They all feel the same. Whereas, what about in the fucking 70s, where we jumped from Invasion of Astro Monster to Ebirah Horror of the Deep, then fucking Destroy All Monsters the next year, then from that, like from world-shaking Doomsday to All Monsters Attack, with Ichiro living his little fantasy and being pals with Minilla on Monster Island, and then from that we go to Godzilla vs. Hedorah, this grim, dark, highly surreal anti-pollution movie.
Yeah.
Where's that variety?
Yeah, well, that's it.
These all just feel the same, and they all feel grey,
same stakes,
and flat,
same monsters, same
bland.
kind of monsters. In that you could sub out King Ghidorah for Rodan, and you could sub out Mechagodzilla for Mothra. And
the monsters,
not quite, but you know,
the enemy monsters in this run of movies are robbed of what so uniquely defined them against their Western counterparts in the heyday, is that they all have agency, they have characteristics, they have personality, individual personalities that you can tell apart. They're not just monsters, and that doesn't come across in these movies.
Yeah, they are just monsters.
Exactly, yeah. That was good.
That was a pretty good rant there. We're on a roll. See, we were worried that this was going to be a bit off brand, but
you've brought me out my shell.
Exactly.
And let me just check. Laptop's still around. It's still on.
It's come back on.
In the words of Elton John,
I'm still standing better than I ever did. Is that Elton John?
That's Elton John.
Oh, good. No,
looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid.
Good.
Laura does a funny Elton John impression.
I'm going to ask her to do it for me.
Do you want to wrap up?
Let's start wrapping up. This has been quite a higgledy-piggledy one, but it's a higgledy-piggledy fucking movie.
Sorry for my mood earlier also.
Yeah, no, Stephen, you were in a bit of a mood.
I know. I know I was, Ian.
But we got through it. I think I did okay. I didn't, did I? You could just go back and listen to the start of this and just see how much I'm like... this is Godzilla.
I couldn't sleep very well last night. So I'm not just telling you this randomly.
I couldn't either, Stephen.
Do you know? I was thinking, I wonder what Ross's favourite Godzilla movie is. And it kept me up for a few minutes or so. It kept me up.
Don't lie, Stephen. It was hours.
I think I can guess what your favourite Godzilla movie is so far.
Guess.
It's Shin Godzilla, isn't it?
I took a dramatic sip of water.
It takes a long dramatic drink.
Yeah, it's probably Shin Godzilla, or maybe it's like Ebirah. It's either that or Ebirah Horror of the Deep. Or but I think ultimately maybe it's Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, you can like just like discount the original.
The original Godzilla is a given.
It's exactly, it's a given. When you're ranking the Godzilla movies, you can just kind of like.
It's number 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but no, I would say Shin Godzilla is certainly up there, or it's maybe Ebirah. Maybe could be Hedorah.
Hedorah was so good.
It could be Destroy All Monsters, or it could be All Monsters Attack. In fact, that might be my top 5. I wasn't able to do it before.
Nice.
Whoa. Yeah. But saying, I mean, certainly Shin Godzilla's up there. I don't want to say Shin Godzilla's the best one, because it almost feels like a little unfair to like have watched all 30 Godzilla films to go, you know what, it was the one that didn't exist when I started the podcast. that was the best one. But no, it's that one, Ebirah, but I'm sure these came up in your thoughts.
Yes. Well, here's a question for you as well, and maybe for the viewers as well. Viewers? This is an audio medium, Stephen. The listeners. Do you think we should include in our lineup of films we're doing for the Godzilla series, should we include Kong Skull Island because it's in hard continuity with a Godzilla series?
Yeah.
You think so?
Theoretically, we can always do it as a sort of sidey or a shorter one.
A Gaiden.
Yes, a Gaiden. Kaiju Gaiden. Ross Gaiden. Ross ! AU.
Ready to wrap up?
Yeah, let's start wrapping up.
This
Whoa! What do other people think about this movie?
This is pretty highly regarded.
Is it? Oh, no. Am I gonna get shit?
As far as
I just rode off your rage, Stephen.
I'm ready for
you know
a fight.
me. I just read the room.
Ross, you know me, I'll fight anyone.
Back me up
Verbally.
Yeah, I mean I get it, but nah, this movie's boring.
Yeah, it is.
It's just boring. There's better movies, and I mean that in a good way.
There's
so many more better ones you could choose.
There are currently 30 Godzilla movies. And there are 20 I'd rather watch over this.
Yeah, it's fair. Is the other one the 20? So the other one you wouldn't watch would be Mothra vs. Godzilla, right?
No, it's the next one.
Oh no! See, I'm looking forward to it. I do try to just dive in and enjoy the film as it comes.
Well, that's good, yeah. And like I said earlier, I consider this movie and the movie that we're going to be watching next to be the absolute lowest points of the franchise. And I'm actually waiting for this reviewing to figure out which one I dislike more.
Which is the real killer.
So up next is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Excellent. Before we go, what do people like about this one then? So this is pretty hard.
I don't fucking know.
Well, let's find out. So listeners,
I think
please comment in the Facebook and the Tumblr. Just especially if you really like this movie, like why?
Yeah, fight us.
I mean, I want to stress, I don't think it's strictly bad. I don't think any of the Godzilla movies are strictly bad films.
Yeah,
it's just kind of boring.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wouldn't call this like a bad movie, but I think it's not a great Godzilla movie. It's not a great Kaiju movie. And
it had a capacity to do much more than it did.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point to sound off on.
So, let's start wrapping up now.
This is
I started the film. I started the show.
On you go.
Let me. We're at the top.
Nailed it.
Goodbye. Bye. No, this was the Kaijusaurus Podcast. As always,
I was Ross,
and this was my friend Steven. As always, we are on our Facebook, the Kaijusaurus Podcast. We are on the Tumblr. The www.tumblr.com/Kaijusaurus.
Kaijusaurus.tumblr.com.
We are on Twitter.
I had someone ask the other day there if you had Tumblr.
I do have a Tumblr, but I don't really use it. I just use it to shitpost.
Yeah, I like your Tumblr because it's just like once every 1 or 2 months or something, you'll just like reblog some funny stuff for 15 minutes.
So yeah, follow me on Tumblr. I'm Menzies Maze.
I'll put a...
But I really don't use it. I want to use it more. I want to engage more. But I want to do a lot of things, Stephen. And I'm sure you can all, dear listeners, empathise with that. There are a lot of things I want to do.
Yeah, I want independent Scotland. I don't want a snap general election.
Yeah, I don't. But maybe this will help us, Stephen.
Maybe.
But it remains to be seen, because it might be a double bluff. I don't like Theresa May, everyone, and that's an official Kaijusaurus Podcast record opinion.
Oh, she's a goddamn bitch, isn't she?
She's my mortal enemy.
We're living in our Reagan Thatcher period.
Except both horrible mirror warped versions.
Yeah, exactly.
One much worse and the other much more just rat-like and squirrely than their counterpart.
We're on iTunes, the Kaijusaurus Podcast. We are at home on SoundCloud.
Go do a proper one. Go just do a full one.
Full social media list off.
Yeah,
This is, as it always shall be, the Kaijusaurus Podcast. We are at home on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Kaijusaurus. Kaijusaurus.tumblr.com is the blog from which this podcast is spun off. We're also on the iTunes Store. If you leave us a rating or a review, if you're feeling generous. We're on Facebook. Give us a like. Talk to us there. We might talk to you back. We've not got a great response rate, but I'm working on it.
We're working on it. I want to do it too.
It's just because I'm the kind of person who gets a text and goes and replies like 3 days later.
Yeah, exactly. Let's give more shout outs to some of the conversations that we have on our Facebook page in particular, and I know the Tumblr as well, are really, really good.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of good engagement.
I mean, we had a really great comment from a listener about last times episode.
It was about the 64 Mothra versus
Right.
Godzilla, yeah. And I'll definitely put a link to that in the show notes because it was a really, really excellent insight into that 1964 movie.
Yeah, and about the idea of sort of nationalism and the conversation that we had earlier in the earlier podcast about whether Thingy versus Thingy was like, I don't know, nationalist qualities or sort of.
I watched through the week. I watched Battle Royale 2 Requiem.
I've never seen Battle Royale 2.
Battle Royale 2 is rotten.
I bet it is.
It's absolutely.
Is Beat Takeshi in it?
It's he's in one scene.
Oh.
He dies in the first one. Spoilers.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, he does. Of course. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. I'm surprised you know him. You can just rhyme him off.
Well, yeah, I watched Takeshi's Castle, Steven. Yeah, I know what Beat Takeshi is.
Yeah, he's considered the heir to Akira Kurosawa.
He's actually doing. I'm pretty sure he's been doing a series of parody videos of Donald Trump.
Oh, he has, hasn't he? Yeah.
And they're bizarre and they're weird, and I love seeing him in
Because
costume.
he's most well known in Japan as a comedian.
Yeah.
Whereas here he's
more of a
regarded
dramatic
as like a dramatic actor and filmmaker,
Yeah.
which is like a really funny contrast. But the original director of Battle Royale filmed one scene for the sequel with Takeshi Kitano, and then died.
Oh man.
So his son finished the film. And it's crap.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? Now, that is an anti-American movie, Battle Royale 2.
Really?
Holy shit, yeah. Like, really strong anti-American sentiments. But I would say go watch it, but don't because it's crap.
Okay. I might go watch that.
Well, you know.
I love that first Battle Royale. I think it's a great movie.
I watched that again for the week.
It's
Got
good,
the Arrow video Blu-ray.
Yum, yum.
That's a lovely.
Crisp Blu-ray.
Well, it's not a lovely film, but you know, it's.
What else have we been watching?
I've been watching a lot of The Real Ghostbusters on Netflix because that came on and I'm really enjoying that. And Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, you're so excited about that. I think everyone in the general community is
fucking nailing it. Oh, it's
you're liking
good.
it.
The Reptilicus episode is genuinely now one of my favourite episodes ever.
That's
it's
good.
So
That's a good
funny.
sign.
And last night, Laura and I watched the Time Travelers episode, and oh my god, it's so fucking funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit and start watching some of those soon.
They just nailed it, Ross.
Did they just nail it?
What have you been watching?
I have been watching. What have I been watching? Riverdale. And it's great. It's basically I think you watched the pilot, but
I watched the first episode. Yeah.
You know, it's a sort of heavily derivative of Twin Peaks. Obviously, the Archie comics and the general melodrama of like Warner Brothers CW shows like 902, like that kind of teen drama 90210 stuff.
Sure.
Plus the neighborhood from The Sims. It is the neighborhood from The Sims. The ending music sounds like Sims music. Everyone's kind of got Sims jobs and goes to places like The Sims do. Like everyone meets up at the fucking neighborhood cafe. Everyone's at the same events all the time. It feels like just Riverdale is the closest there is to an adaptation of The Sims.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, because the level of melodrama, because of the ridiculous situations and relationships that people are in, feels like a game of The Sims. Like not like a general game of The Sims. It's general weird things happening. So yeah, that's a bold claim. I'm enjoying it. It's good to just stick on and watch.
Cool.
Another program I watched, which is so strange, is called Terrace House Aloha State. And it's on Netflix. I believe it's a Japanese unscripted reality show where 6 Japanese young people, 3 men, 3 women, all live together in a house in Hawaii. And it's a sort of reality show. It's not Big Brother. They're not stuck in the house. They can go and just do their day. And I think a lot of them have ties to Hawaii already. So some of them are studying or working on the island. But anyway, it's such a pleasant, enjoyable show to watch. There's like minimal conflict. Everyone's very polite and friendly to each other for the most part, and very respectful of everything. There's romance. I've only seen 2 episodes yet, so I don't know who ends up with who yet, but I'm pretty digging some of these characters. So I put that on by accident and just sort of because the name itself I found intriguing, and I ended up watching about 2 hours of it because it's weirdly hypnotically entertaining.
Excellent.
So that's really what I've been watching.
Well,
and Better Call Saul, which I'm really into, but I feel like there's another place entirely to discuss Better Call Saul.
Will we finally wrap this up?
Let's wrap this up.
This has been Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. We'll see you next time for Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. See you later.
Can we all just say how pleased we are that your laptop seems to be working? I don't want to, touch wood. Let us know how that situation goes.
I will do.
Because it was tense.
You felt really bad. I was feeling bad for you feeling bad.
Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about me.
See you next time.
Bye!